Today I got a 2004 Ford Excursion with a 6-liter Powerstroke, and we are going to do a transmission service, which is the trans filter, the pan gasket, and the fluid. I like to add a friction modifier from Lube Guard. The part number is one of these. This stuff just helps a lot with the fluid, keeps it lasting longer. This is a pan gasket. They sell different styles. They sell one that's like a metal with a rubber outside, and one that is a thin, just rubber gasket. You don't want to use the thin rubber ones because they'll just squish out when you tighten them. This is a part number for this one. All this stuff you can get at your local O'Reilly's. And see how this gasket's kind of thick? It's almost got like a metal inside to it. That's the gasket you want. They say it's reusable. The time you're going to do it on this truck now, it's probably been on there for 20 years. You'll have to replace it. This is your transmission filter. Ford also can get it straight from O'Reilly's. That's the part number. And the other thing is, we'll get to it once we pull the pan down in the video and stuff. But this seal, if you don't feel comfortable enough pulling it out of the pump, pull it off of here if the old one stays in there and reuse it. If not, if it comes out with the old filter, just put it in like this. But once we get there, I'll show you that stuff. Alrighty, so we're going to be doing a transmission service on a 6-liter Powerstroke today, and I just want to go over the tools that I used. Just a Milwaukee electric ratchet. You don't have to use an electric ratchet. 3-inch extension and a 10mm socket. This I only use to remove the bolts on the transmission pan. This setup, 1/4-inch extension, 1/4-inch swivel 10mm, and a 1/4-inch ratchet to pull off the bolts in the back near the cross member. You'll need a 3/8 ratchet with a 13mm to be able to loosen the drain plug. And then you don't have to use a 3/8 torque wrench. You can use a 1/4-inch torque wrench. It just needs to be able to go down to or up to 11 foot-pounds because that's what the bolts are for the transmission pan. So now I pulled the drain plug out of the drain or the oil pan on the transmission. These do have a drain plug. It's a 13mm, and it's just one plug on the bottom, and you pull that out and let it drain out into a 5-pound pipe. And then once that's done draining, there will be 10mm bolts all the way around on the back and on the front. You can either use a swivel or a shallow to get these ones. I would leave one on this side here and one on the other side, just so it holds it up until you get all the bolts out. Once it's done draining, just put the plug back in so it doesn't leak out on you while you're trying to take the pan down. And once we have the pan down, then I will show you what we're going to do from there. Good. So you might have to wiggle this filter out a little bit. It'll come out, we'll make a mess everywhere. But it got left out. The seal came out. If your seal doesn't come out, it stays inside this pump in here. If you take a pick and you score the pump at all, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So I would suggest, if you're not confident in pulling that out without messing the pump up right in here, then I would leave the old one in and just pull the new one off the new filter. If it comes out like this, great. Put a little grease on the new one and plop it up in there. And I'll show you that once we go to put the new one in, where the hole is in the pump and where to put it in. Alrighty, so now that I got the trans filter and the trans pan off, you can see this is a transmission gasket. It's kind of stuck on there, but it's a thick one, metal type. And you can actually, I'll bend this one because this one's a bad one. But see how there's some metal inside of there, and then it's coated on the outside with a rubber. This is supposed to be reusable, but after this filter here saying it was made in December of 2015, then it's 10 years old. I'd replace it, and it's leaking. Now this filter Definitely looks like a Ford one because it's got the date here and it's got the same color O-ring. The inside of it, very clean, not a bunch of material. The fluid, for if it is 10 years old, I don't think it is. It's definitely had at least drain and fills, but there's not a lot of material, not a lot of metal in here. This is kind of normal. You'll have stuff like this on the magnet. As long as you can't feel any big chunks, there's no hard metal pieces. There's normal wear and tear. The clutch material will break down. Stuff wears in over time. So that's kind of normal. So what I'll do, this is junk. I'm going to drain the fluid out of here. I'll take a little Scotch-Brite, just clean up the edges around the pan. I'll clean all the fluid out of the pan, make the magnet nice and clean. This does come off. It's just a magnet. It's just stuck to the pan. So you just pull that off, wipe it off with a rag, and spray it with some brake clean. It is a magnet, so whatever metal, if there's just a little bit left over that you can't get off, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay on the magnet. You're fine. So once I get this cleaned up and ready to go back on the truck, I'll bring you in to showing you how to put the filter in the truck properly, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, so now we got the pan cleaned up. All the fluid's out of it. This is cleaned up a little bit. A little bit on the edge is fine. The gasket kind of sits in the middle, and if it's nothing you can't catch a fingernail on, then it's not worried about it. Just kind of clean it up real quick with some Scotch-Brite. And once you clean it with some Scotch-Brite, make sure you clean this out again with some brake clean, and then spray it down with some air to just make sure you get everything out. If there's a little bit of metal still on this magnet, if you can't get all of it, it's okay. It's a magnet. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay on it. The gasket just simply goes on there like that. And then once we get the filter in, we'll put it back up, put a bolt here and a bolt here just to hold it, and then we'll put them all in by hand. Tighten them up snug by hand, and then we'll torque all the bolts, but I'll go over that once we get to that point. So now I got the filter. I put a little bit of grease all around the O-ring just so it slides into the pump easily. And now I'll go underneath and show you how to install the filter and then wipe down the trans so you can get ready to reinstall the transmission pan. Alright, so now that we're underneath the truck, normally the transmission itself's pretty good because it's the aluminum case. Unless it's really rotted, then you got more of an issue. But I'll just normally take a rag and wipe the whole mating surface down where the transmission pan and the gasket go. Get all the trans fluid off of it, any dirt and debris, just to try and give it a good sealing surface. Do that all the way around, both sides, front and back. Now that I got that cleaned, up here is your front pump and your transmission, and this hole right here is where your filter will go up and in. If this gasket or O-ring stays up here, you'll have to take a little pick to try and get it out, but you could possibly score the pump and that will cause it to leak, and you don't want that to happen. So if the old O-ring stays up here and you're not confident enough to take it out, you're better off just taking the new one off the new one and reusing it. If it comes out with the old filter, just put a little grease on the new one like this. Just come over here, give it a little bit of a press. You push it right in. There's nothing, this one doesn't bolt in or anything, it's just held in by there. Once you put the pan up, it won't be able to fall down. So now that we got this gasket surface cleaned up, I'm going to grab my transmission pan with the new gasket and two bolts. Like I said before, we'll put one bolt on each side just to hold the pan, because if you put them unevenly, you have a chance of bending the pan. Then we'll put all of them in by hand, and then I'll get you guys a torque spec, because you do want to torque these. These are small M8 bolts that can strip out very easy in this aluminum case, and they're known for that. So I always recommend torquing these bolts. Always. So I will get the torque spec, and I will get the transmission pan and the bolts and bring you back. So now I got the training pan with the gasket on there. You have to put the back up first. And I always like to hold it up with one hand. put one bolt in on this side by hand, get it started. If you can't thread these bolts in by hand, do not force them in with a ratchet or a wrench. You should be able to put all these bolts all the way snug by hand, and then torque them down like they should be. Now that I got one on each side, I don't have to hold it up here anymore. It can hold itself. I got these. And once we get all these bolts in, and I get you the torque spec, I'll bring it back and show you how I torque it. Alrighty, now that I got the pan up there, I got all my bolts up by hand, tightened just snug. The torque for these bolts are 11 foot-pounds, so it's not much at all. I have, if you're gonna start doing stuff like this, and certain things I recommend torquing, if you're gonna start doing your own stuff in your own vehicle, this is literally a torque wrench from Harbor Freight. Yes, I have a nice $600 one at my work, and a $1,200 half-inch one. But this is my personal shop, and this is Harbor Freight. Works just fine. Go get you one. They're like 40 bucks. So I'll start in the middle. And no, it does not matter how long the extension is. You're torquing it. Hear that? Out and tight. Come over here. Tight. Do one at the back, one at the front. Now it does help a lot to have a 10mm swivel for these back ones. The rest of them you can do with a straight extension. Opens tight. That one's tight. That one's tight. So now I got one on the back, one on this side, one on the other side, and then these two in the front torqued. You're just gonna work your way around, make sure they're all torqued. Take the time, do it one more time just to double check, because once you finish torquing all of them, the ones that you started with could be a little loose now that the gasket's been sucked down all the way. Once you get those tight, then always double check your drain plug and make sure that's tight. Whether you tightened it when you put it back in or not, take the extra 2 seconds and make sure it's tight. Because if that falls out, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So now I'm going to go around, torque all the bolts, then go around one more time, torque them all again, make sure they're all tight. I'll make sure my drain plug's tight, and then I'll bring you back up when we're at the top and we're going to put the fluid and the additive in. Alrighty, so now that I got the transmission filter, the new pan gasket, and the pan up and torqued, and made sure that the drain plug was tight, I use Valvoline. Valvoline is probably the only company right now that actually has stuff that tests their oil and doesn't just make their oil to a certain spec. So to each is their own. You can use whatever fluid you want, but I recommend using the Max Life full synthetic Valvoline fluid in these. And the first thing that I like to put in, if you're going to use it, is any additives. That way it gets mixed in nice and good. You always shake this stuff up because you don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf. Take this. Now always pull those out because that could fall in and you don't want that to happen. We'll add in the friction modifier for the trans fluid. And then normally if you're doing a trans filter and a drain and fill, pulling the pan down and stuff, you'll use a full 8 quarts. But probably put 6 in it, run it, check it. We'll go over how to check it properly and stuff like that. So put this first gallon in and you fill it right through the dipstick with a transmission funnel. It'll have a small enough end that can go in your dipstick tube. So each one of these is a gallon, so each one has 4 quarts. And these ones are nice, they give you a little sight on the back to tell you how much you've used or how much is in it. So that's about 6 quarts I've put in so far. So then, take your funnel out. Now you always, to properly check your transmission fluid, you'll need to have it running. But whenever I do a drain and fill, it's always never a bad idea just to check it beforehand. And if you're in the ballpark, it should be way over full reading on the dipstick without the truck running. And normally when you just put fluid down there, I like to take it in and out a couple times because it's not going to read accurate because there's a bunch of fluid in the tube. So it's reading kind of fairly full. Definitely got enough fluid in it to run it. And I'll back it off the ramps because you always want to check the fluid on a level surface. So now I'll get the truck off the ramps and I'll show you how to check the fluid cold. And then we'll take it for a test drive, get the transmission nice and warm, bring it back, recheck the fluid, check for any leaks. And I'll show you how to properly check the fluid hot and cold. And I'll bring it back. Now that I got the truck idling, I got 6 quarts in it. You want to make sure that the truck's in park and on a level surface. Make sure it's nice and clean, there's nothing on it. Now we're looking for the cold line right now, and it's just on the bottom of the stick. So I'm going to add another quart to see what it looks like. 1 quart left in my jug, so I've used 7 so far, plus the additive. Now, same thing again, since I just put fluid in it, we'll have to put it in and out a couple times, clean it off, and check it. Right now it's reading fairly high on the stick, so that's alright. So I'm going to go drive it, get the transmission warm. You don't want to beat the crap out of it because you just drained all the fluid out of it and the transmission's still trying to relearn. So you're just going to drive it, get it warm, bring it back, and then you'll check it at that hot level and see if you need to add any from there. Alrighty, so right now this truck sounds a little different or quiet. Because I installed a smoke switch or a turbo switch, so at night you can flick the switch and the truck will be quieter, or if you wanted the truck to soot a lot on demand, you can flick the switch and it'll soot a lot. So right now it's fairly quiet. Once I hit the switch, the VGT starts working again, the mains come back to life, and it sounds just like it does before. So now we're just going to drive it around easy. The trainees normally get up to temp pretty quickly. So we'll get it up to temperature, drive it for about 10-15 minutes, bring it back, and then we'll show you how to check it when the transmission's hot. So now I've driven it for about 10-15 minutes, and I'm going to check the fluid. It should be in park on a level surface still. So we're on the stick, so we'll definitely have to add that last quart. Thing, since we put fluid in it, we'll have to put it in and out a couple times, wipe it off, just so we get an accurate reading of what's in there.
quarts and then probably a half a quart of the additive. And that's how you do your transmission service and check the fluid on a 6-liter Powerstroke. And that goes for any year, not just excursion, not just 250, 350, that's 2, 3, 4, 550 and excursions. Any 6-liter with an automatic 5R 110